So I want to welcome you to the show. I'm your host, Jody Taves, and I'm founder of Explore Creative. And today we are speaking with Jeff Hughes and Adam Robinson. They co-own Connect Performance based in Calgary. And we're going to be talking about clinic gym hybrids and just the story behind how they got started and how they're working together. So to start, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your background. Just give us some context in terms of who are we talking to today.
My name's Adam. I'm a chiropractor and the clinic director here at Connect. I first started my career as a strength and conditioning coach. So got kind of dove in with both feet in that world, working with athletes, mostly skiers, weightlifters, hockey players, rugby players, and then I also used to compete in powerlifting as well. And so that was kind of a way to combine my hobby, which was powerlifting, and my career as strength and conditioning. And then once I started in that field, knew that it wasn't for me. The days were a little repetitive for than what I would like, and everyone had an injury or an ache or a pain that I was limited in helping with in that field. And so that's when I decided to become a chiropractor. And then so I've been practicing for just about 8 years now. And then Jeff and I met probably 2 years ago. And then we decided to
Longer
join
than that.
forces maybe 2.5 years ago. Yeah, that's my background.
I'm Jeff, and I'm founder and co-owner Connect Performance. I've been in the personal training, strength and conditioning industry for over 18 years. I also do the fascial stretch therapy, I got into that through courses in Arizona, and I decided to dive into that because I wanted to be more hands-on with clients rather than just doing the fitness side of it. I wanted to mix in a little bit of therapy as a way to grow my personal training side of business, and it eventually ended up swallowing my personal training business. But it's been nice being able to combine the two. My background, I started off doing mostly strength and conditioning at Acadia, where I would do early mornings, late nights, working predominantly with varsity level athletes. Eventually moved here and was working just in commercial gym space, working with general pop. And I struggled with trying to figure out if I wanted to be more on the athlete side or the general pop side, but I find myself enjoying a lot more general pop now. And that's kind of where I hang my hat on. And I work with a lot of people who deal with chronic or acute pain and want to find a way to train through it or train around it. And I find that's where I thrive. People who are dealing with discomfort or pain, want to improve performance, or just want to live longer.
You guys really both came from these like athletic, like exercise-based backgrounds, and then all of a sudden the therapy became another tool for you to be able to work with people. And then you took that and you really turned it into this like clinic gym hybrid. So can you tell us a little bit about, again, just a little bit about Connect itself? Because you've really meshed this like therapy and training side of things.
So the half of our model is the clinic. In the front of the house, we have a hallway with our separate treatment rooms. And then as you keep going, we have a 3,000 square foot gym there, just as a way to fully serve the people who come in. Usually they come in with an ache or a pain or an injury. And then as we progress to handling the injury to rehab to full return to performance or return to their life, it's so much better, in my opinion, to have it under one roof. Because I was practicing at a separate clinic for the first 7 years, and I had a lot of great trainers that I knew in the city, but to find time to call them, email them, talk to them about our mutual clients, it was becoming quite tedious and tiresome, and it wasn't as high quality as I would have liked. And so, yeah, we have chiropractors, physiotherapists, massage therapists, acupuncturists, who can handle the aches and pains and injury side of things. And then if the person wants to transition into fitness training, we can do that by sending them down the hall, which has really been great.
And I think 70 to 80% of the people that come see us either need to start strength training or need to have better strength training methods implemented into their daily routine. So I think not having this gym, I think, does our clients a disservice. And I think when we think about creating a premium experience for our clients, having that gym space and being like, you have all these issues. We want you to work on them in the gym. Here's some videos. Hopefully you do it right. And eventually you're going to be loading it, which, increases potentially your risk for injury. And if you have someone that comes in that's not overly confident with the gym and don't want to look into getting into commercial gym space where they're just going to have trainers kind of gawking down on them, trying to sell them training, where it's at least here we know exactly what's going on with your body. We can implement any kind of rehab or prehab into your training, and all of our therapists and trainers are on the same page to ensure that we're progressing, we're regressing depending on how you're feeling, and that way we can actually ensure you get good results that are long lasting.
I love that clinic gym hybrid. I mean, that was an
It's the
exciting.
future. It's
Yeah.
the future. You're going to see a lot more of it.
Like I've heard that from you before, Jeff.
Mhm.
Calling it the future. Yeah. And I agree. There's definitely a shift that way. So I'm gonna go back to kind of the beginning of the story. And I'd love to know, like, how did you guys meet? This sounds like very like a romance story here, but how did you guys meet?
So we met through a mutual friend who's a physio here in Calgary, Travis. He knew Jeff separately. He knew me separately. We co-managed a few people together. Um, I was looking for a change. The trajectory that the space I was at previously didn't really match the trajectory where I wanted to be. So I went out, hung out with Travis at Orca, just to see what it's like and see if either they had any opportunities or if he knew of anyone. And then I feel like a week or so later, he reached out to me and mentioned that Jeff was looking to start something similar. So messaged Jeff right away. We met for a beer and a chicken burger at Home and Away, I think it was.
Mhm.
And just kind of got to talking, kind of talked about what I was looking for, what he was looking for,
We didn't talk much
and the
business.
vision.
Like it was a little bit, but like it was for the roots of it, it was very much just figuring out how we treated people. And it was just like, it wasn't very businessy. It was very much just like, do we get along? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah.
just like one, two beers, and then it was just kind of, it seemed very, very easy and natural.
So it
And
wasn't necessarily about the business model as much as it was maybe about the treatment philosophies and the training philosophies and then personalities
well,
standpoint, or
it's like, it's very much, I think oftentimes people that get into business together, they start with a friendship and then they turn it into a business relationship. Adam and I started strictly, I mean, we had a little bit of that friendship right out of the gate, but it was very business. And it's like when it happened, it started happening so fast by the time we were looking for spaces and trying to figure out the financing and all the legal side of it and the contractor and everything. But it was very much like, whenever we had that meeting and he messaged me that night and he was just like, I'm prepared to do like financial, like, like I want to get in on this. And it was the first time someone actually, because I've had these conversations with other people and they either didn't take me seriously or they maybe just didn't see the vision or the visions didn't align. But when he told me he was ready to do like a financial commitment and actually invest to connect stock, then that was like the first moment where I was like, shit, like he believes in it. He believes in me. And that's where it kind of got my brain working a little bit harder and realized that it was kind of the perfect partnership because it started off, like I said, strictly business. And then we developed a really good friendship outside of it too. But it's the heart and foundation of it is it's very, very business.
Adam, what about for you? Have you had conversations with other kind of potential business partners before, or how did you know that Jeff was like the one?
Yeah, so I've always been my style has been trust your gut and then just go with it. Not there's no paralysis by analysis with me. It's okay, I feel like he's a good guy. I have faith in my ability. I have faith in his ability, just based on his background and some of the things that he's went through and overcome.
That is big.
And then it was yeah, it was as simple as this is something I've been wanting to do. Undertaking it by yourself would be a tall order, especially if you want any type of work-life balance. And I want that. That's important to me still. I'm not trying to, eke out every dollar I possibly can for myself. It's more about creating a great space, having a good work-life balance, and having a partner. For me, with that as a no-brainer.
And as intense as it sounds, like I knew at this point what I've put into this business and like blood, sweat, tears, and like tons and tons of time. Like time I'll never get back, but it all adds up, and it's allotted to this, but I was trying to gauge whether or not he would put that into it the same way I would, which it's one of those cases where it's like you can't expect someone to care as much as you do, but until like obviously there's that financial commitment and everything like that, it's hard to judge that if he's like, okay, well, we know we need to get something done and it needs to be done today and it's 9 o'clock. Like, are we gonna get it done by 12 or are we gonna wait in the morning? It's like, but time after time, he's proven himself that where it's like, if we need something done, he does it, doesn't complain, gets it done. And I think when we initially talked and we were talking about hardships we've been through and just like understanding what it means to truly grind and get something done and do work that you don't want to do, but you get it done. That really resonated with me because I consider myself a hard worker and how he is and how his parents raised him, especially his dad. I feel like we just like resonated on that end very, very quick and easily.
So like really matched on the values and we're both gritty.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question to that has been like, so you've been in partnership now for what, two years?
Well, going on our third.
What have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced, not necessarily as a clinic or as a business, but in your partnership? What have been maybe some of the primary challenges that you guys have had to overcome?
There haven't been many big ones. There's always little ones like, should we do this? Should we do that? In the smaller scheme of things.
Mhm.
I feel like this is where maturity plays a big role. I could not have done this 10 years ago. If I
Mm.
was in my mid-20s, I didn't have the understanding, the conflict resolution skills that I do now. And that comes with experience going through difficult things yourself and helping other people through it. And so anything that has been a little bit of friction, we just resolved it as soon as it happened.
Yeah.
Um, no hard feelings, no awkwardness after. But again, I think for me personally, that comes from maturity, which I only developed kind of through age and experience.
He's helped me mature a lot in how I deal and handle people. I can sometimes have the initial reaction of um, maybe being a little bit too up here and kind of
Yeah.
responding emotionally, and he doesn't do that. So anytime we're making a decision, it's like we never, let's say if a staff member is wanting something, anything contract related or whatever it is, something important, like we never have that conversation. And we always go back to, let me talk to Adam, let me talk to Jeff. That way I can kind of get through my little emotional thing that I'm going through and he talks me down from it. And then we just meet exactly where we should meet. And I think I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I know initially starting off working just for myself, it was only me. It was really hard for me to get out of that. And I'm learning now that it's everything, there's a lot more at play now, and everything needs to be thought out and very strategic. So I think he does a good job of keeping the peace.
So I'm actually curious, that kind of leads me into the next question, which is, did you define your roles prior to going into your partnership, or do you have defined roles now? It's kind of like a multi-part question.
I would say we define them initially, but then they just kind of molded into what they are, would you say?
Yeah, we talked initially about Jeff has quite a good skill set with social media marketing, so we knew he would handle that.
Mhm.
And then so as more things arise, he was doing so much time handling that side, then I would spend more time on the financial side, banking, making sure everything's paid,
Mhm.
trying to keep a little bit of like a financial forecast. Okay, we got this coming up. We should pull back here. And so handling that, which I have no experience in.
Mhm.
But it was just kind of that's what we needed because Jeff was so busy doing that. Then I just kind of filled in the gap.
And that's the hardest thing to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
part's the hardest thing to learn?
The understanding the financial side of it and the forecasting
Mm.
of it and looking ahead, and like we went through our growing pains with it, and it was the point where I was dabbling in it a little bit, he was dabbling in a little bit, and then we didn't even have to say it. He just started handling it. And even like taking over control, a lot of handling, dealing with the accountant and taxes and all that stuff. We found it easier just to, well, I'm speaking because I didn't have my hands on it as much, but where I was kind of doing a lot of stuff with staff in terms of meeting with them, figuring out kind of what kind of social media they want to put out, what they want to look like. And I was putting a lot of time with staff, and he was doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that need to be done in order for this place to stay afloat.
Mhm.
But I would say it kind of just happened naturally. Would you say?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you guys have kind of naturally, like you have complementary skill sets, clearly.
Yeah, I compressed a lot of knowledge about the finances, and that's by screwing it up and then learning
Yeah.
how to fix it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
it's like he has all this clinical experience to which I don't have. I've never worked in a clinical setting, so it was only made sense for him to kind of step into that role and take control of that. And for me, like I just stuck to what I knew, and it was business growth from like a social media side of it and just getting other people involved and excited and motivated about that. I found that's a big piece of it that I attribute to the success of this company. So I didn't want it to fall to the wayside whenever things got busier.
Mhm.
So I think by him stepping up and doing all the stuff that not necessarily I didn't want to do, but it was the stuff that I don't know if I would have been spreading myself thin trying to handle a lot of that, trying to do the social media stuff, trying to run my own business and practice like within Connect, and as well as training new staff, like bringing on new trainers and trying to do skill development stuff. It just would have been too much. So like he just stepped up and I didn't have to say anything.
So that kind of leads me into the next question, which how do you approach big picture planning? So this is a question I've had from a few people. They're like, how do you, like within a partnership, how do you think long term, like from a vision standpoint? How do you do big picture planning with the two of you, or do you do something formally? Talk us through that process.
So we have, I'd say, a 3 to 6 month calendar on how we plan
Yeah.
everything out. So we have a big calendar behind us that no birthdays go on it, nothing like that. It's all like group classes. So like, for example, if we have a golf group starting, we know promos and all that stuff and posters in the clinic are going up 6 to 8 weeks before the class starts. So that's a big piece of it. Any kind of like Christmas parties or anything like that, we do that to make sure we can communicate that well with staff. But I think in terms of changes that we will be making like long term, where we want to create more like community opportunities and stuff, like those are things we're looking to implement eventually once because we feel like we have roots here, but we still feel like we can put a little bit more down before we start making too many crazy changes. And like it's important for us that like we have a lot of offerings here, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and try and offer everything. We want to just focus on being good at what we know what we're good at. What do you think? Anything else?
Yeah, and in the long term scheme of things, we have a restaurant who's just to the south of us, our neighbor. It's called Marco's Kitchen. The owner, Jika, he said for the first 3 years of business, just keep the lights on and just worry about that, which I found to be quite helpful at alleviating some of the pressure to succeed and pay yourself a bunch of money and do all that stuff because we're still pretty new. And so that's helpful that, when you have a rough month or, there's something like an unexpected expense comes up and you kind of stress about it, you can handle it. And so talking to other people who have started a business, owned a business, so you guys are doing good. Just, hit that 3 month mark, lights are on, everybody's paid, and then things will get a little smoother after that.
Especially looking for some mentorship, whatever advice, whatever you want to call it, wisdom from business owners who are still successful and further along than you has been helpful.
Oh,
It's just
totally.
like a roller coaster. You just
Yeah.
have to keep that poker face during it, where it's like times can get a little dicey when you have like a bunch of payments will come up randomly, and it will be kind of scary when you're looking at your account, you're looking at your bookings and this and that, and it's like you just put the poker face on, you go through it, you take your medicine, and then it's like, and then something good really happens, and then that's just how it is. And it's you just can't get too high or can't get too low, and we've learned that, definitely have learned that in the last 2 years, where in the beginning, we used to get so fired up. We'd see like plus bank account, we'd see all this, and we'd be like, man, we're killing it. And then we're like, all these expenses come up, and we're like, oh, okay, like we actually need to like chill out and stop being so pumped up all the time and just be like, understand, let's not get ahead of ourselves until year 3. And like we plan on making some big moves come the new year. So I think we can start to get a little bit more excited and not necessarily get ahead of ourselves, but at least like take a breather.
What have you done to cultivate that kind of even keel attitude as you've gone through the business, even when there's that pressure? Like, have you figured that out together? How did you implement that?
It's helpful to have a partner so when things are bad, you can just kind of laugh about it, keep things light. And then when things are good, remind ourselves because
We reward ourselves.
we each get excited
Yeah.
and like, hey, the ink's not dry yet. Let's calm it down. Yeah, daily reminders like that because I think it's in human nature to get excited when things are good, to get down in the dumps when things are not good.
Mhm.
But yeah, being able to laugh it off. Jeff's not a really high-strung person, neither am I.
Yeah.
So when things are bad, we can laugh about it
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we
kind of
do quite a bit.
put our heads down, get through it.
Yeah.
And then each time, something bad happens, it gets less and less intense because you've been through it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exposure therapy. Like we've done this
Exactly.
before.
Skill.
Yeah.
Super skill.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily something you even learn.
Mm,
You can't be too high, can't be too low. We're not stressed out people. We got good situations at home. I think even we have no problem sacrificing our own income here for the betterment of the clinic. And I think that's important when you're looking for a business partner. It's like, okay, are you looking to make money early on, or are you looking to grow a business? We're looking to
mhm.
grow a business. We want to retire one day. We want to take a step away, or not step away, but a step back
Yeah.
from our roles at some point and have this place run itself. And the only way that's going to work is if we water the business and allow it to grow. And it's not going to grow with us taking a ton of money from it for ourselves. And we understand that. And yeah, and that's just how it is.
This is a little bit off script, but if you were gonna ask, like if you were gonna give advice to someone who's looking to go into business with someone else, what are maybe like your top three questions that you would ask, like that you would tell them to ask a potential business partner before diving in?
I really like figuring out people what kind of adversity they went through. I think that's so important because it just gives you an idea of their work ethic and character. And especially when you're just meeting someone, it's like you're never going to figure that out unless like you dive into sweat equity and time, right? But I think they connect through hard times. I think it's just I don't know why it is that, but it's I think that is important, which I never would have thought it would be, but I think it's important.
My answer was going to be the same, like, and that's what drew me to him is because he gave me a little summary of some of the things that he had went through, and didn't quit or pout. He just kind of kept trucking,
Mhm.
and that's something that I've done and that I respect. And so I think that's a big one is like
Yeah.
what problems have you solved? How did you solve them? And that's off the top of my head, that would be the most important thing, I
Because
think.
whenever the times get tough, we don't get stressed and
Right.
we don't waver from like what we're doing. There's never a time where we're leaving work stressed out or angry. It's like we know we're going to come back Monday, we're going to put the work boots on and we're going to get it done.
You ask that same question to staff that you bring on as well. Do you
So
value it the same way?
we've learned they're never going to care about the business as much as we do.
Fair. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. It was really hard for me to accept that early on. And now I accept it. And I know he cares about this as much as I do. It's his baby as much as it is my baby. And that's not as important. We're looking, if anything, we want to bring people on that take the initiative, want to work hard. I think we can get an idea of people's work ethic within the first 3 months. We know, especially if they're not having a lot of clients coming in, and are they doing the things to actually get clients to come in, or are they just kind of waiting around and hoping for the best? So I think that's kind of a huge indication for us. The first 3 months will tell us everything we need to know about someone's work ethic. But I think the adversity side of it, not as important, even though it's still something we would discuss with people. But I think we have what's called like a drink a beer factor whenever we think about bringing people on. It's like, do we enjoy being around you? I think not everyone has the luxury to be able to choose who they work with. And we can do that. So we want to be around good people and we want to be around people that want to work hard and who add value and joy to our lives. And we want to do the same for them. So I think that's probably one of the more important things for us.
I like that drink a beer factor. I have heard that from other clinics as well, who also have a very strong team culture. I'm not sure they necessarily called it drink a beer factor. They didn't have quite as nice of a name for it necessarily, but
So we
definitely it
close
seems like
our
it helps.
eyes. we close our eyes after an interview, and then we put our thumb up or down, and
Okay.
then we say open our eyes, and we've been pretty much dead on every time.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'd say for the probably 12 to 15 interviews like we've had, we've been pretty darn close, if not the
Dead on.
same every time.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do
Yeah.
you do if you're not on the same page with a staff member? How do you manage that?
We take time to think about it, because I could want
Mhm.
one thing, he wants one thing from like maybe a contract standpoint,
Mhm.
and it will be like, prove to me why they deserve this. And he'll go through the numbers, he'll show me this, and then we'll just talk it out. And if he proves it, great. If he doesn't, then we go with the latter. So it's very much just like go by the numbers with things, and like yeah, it's that's really all that's said and done.
So how have you built the culture within your clinic? Because I think like back when we first started working together, a big part of what you wanted to do is you did want to work with good people, obviously. How have you built that into your business?
Oh yeah.
Still probably the most important thing. I know Jeff's talked about it in the past where, you work a third of your life, if not more, you're at work. And so you'd like that to be with people who you are excited to come see, that you're not in a hurry to rush out, at 5 o'clock every single day or something like that. And then when we do the interviews and they're primarily personality based, like I don't think I've asked a single technical clinical question with somebody the whole time. Because if they're a good personality, they have a good qualification, the technical skills, they can come and they can always be worked on and improved. But if someone is unpleasant to be around, I don't really care how amazing of a clinician they are. They're
If we don't want
not
to
a
be
good
around
fit.
them, clients won't want to be around them.
Right? Yeah. And you can
Yeah.
teach skills, but you can't teach
Hmm.
personality necessarily. So what have you guys done to build your brand and your reputation in the community? Like, how did you start? I mean, that's so overwhelming at the beginning of that journey. Like, how have you built your brand and your reputation?
Well, initially it was just me
Yeah.
in the beginning, and then company started off as Hughes Performance Training. And then I realized I didn't want it to be about me. And then it went into Stretch YYC. And
Okay.
then I didn't like that. And then it went to nothing. And then it eventually went to Connect, which in my mind, that was the end point. The branding looked great. Everything like was dialed in, and it became even better once you kind of got your hands on it. But I think in terms of how it grew is, I think from a reputation standpoint, is I kind of got in early on the social media side, where it was easier to grow and get following and engagement and everything like that. And I was able to kind of not strike gold, but I was able to kind of strike while the iron was hot. So I was able to get a bigger following, which helped with brand support and allowed anything for me to put out, people would resonate with, and they kind of knew what I was about because I had people following me for years at a time.
Mhm.
And I found it made it easier to get people to buy into whatever I was selling them, essentially. And I think the branding allowed other people to kind of resonate with it rather than just resonating with me and how I do things. So I think whenever we were trying to explain to staff on what we were trying to create, and we were like trying to show them like mock-ups of the idea of like what the building would look like, but it all came back to just values and what this place was going to be about, and what a true multidisciplinary clinic is going to look like, and how it's going to operate, and how we're going to speak to each other, and how we're going to be upfront and communicate. And I think the cool thing is that we had 10 plus people commit to our company without even seeing physically what the business space looked like. So they were like,
Wow.
I'm going to work for you, I'm going to sign a contract. And they've never even saw the business space,
Wow.
other than just like a bunch of old dirty floors and walls that were up that looked nothing like a
Hmm.
clinic and nothing like a gym. All they knew that there was good parking.
There's a space
Uh,
and there's
so I
parking.
thought that was a testament to, I think, the marketing, the branding, and I think just how we communicated on like what the vision was going to be. And then the fact that they bought into it, it's like that was everything. Because if they wouldn't have bought in, then like we would have opened these doors. It would have been Adam and I sitting in this break room and twiddling our thumbs, being like, uh-oh.
Hmm.
So you actually did a lot of building before you had the space. It sounds like obviously with your own personal brand and then building it to connect using social media to build an audience before ever starting the
Totally.
the
And
clinic.
and I
Yeah.
think that's a big reason that's influencing. I
Mhm.
influenced my audience to follow connect. And I
Mhm.
think that's like a huge piece where I think people might struggle if they do the social media side of it and they're starting to do kind of stuff that I do. And then they want to like their new brand, but maybe they don't have a lot of influence as it is because they don't put the time and the consistency into what what it's like to grow social media. It's not
Mhm.
easy.
A lot of work.
But yeah, it's not easy. So I think it's hard for people to resonate and buy in with a brand whenever they're not even buying in with what you're doing already.
Mhm.
And I think I've proven myself over 2000 plus Instagram posts in 7 or 8 years that like I was consistent, I was doing it, I was going to provide a ton of value to people. And if you guys follow my business page, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I think I think we nailed that on the head, I think
Yeah.
initially. And I think we're continuing to kind of change how we do things and become a little bit more entertainment. We don't want to feel too stiff, and the clinic world can be very dry sometimes. We want to
Boring.
kind of keep it
Mhm.
fun and boring. I think we had an interview with Hannah, one of our new admins, and I asked her, I was like, what is something we could do to improve our social media? And she's just like, and I was like, be honest. And she's like, I think you guys have, it sounds like you have so many good personalities in your building, and I don't think you do a good job of showing it. I was like, you're hired.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And she was 100% right. And I was like, you want to know why? Because it's so hard to do that. And it's hard to get people comfortable to want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think you sprinkle in a little bit of personality and authenticity here and there. And it's like people resonate with it. Our clients who see our practitioners see it and they're like, oh, I love these practitioners. They're so fun. They love life. They love working. It makes you want to be a part of that. It makes you want to be a part of the community. And I think that's really, really important with growing a brand, is creating a brand that people want to be a part of and a community that people resonate with.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like your social media definitely gives you a great preview into what your experience is gonna be like as soon as you walk in those doors.
Totally. And
Yeah.
that's hard to do, but I think it's important.
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys have done to build your brand outside of the social media realm? Like, is there anything you're doing like offline that you feel like is building your brand?
That's how I started my practice. Because where I was at, there wasn't as much social media or marketing.
Mhm.
And so yeah, going to gyms, doing workshops, doing talks,
Hosting courses.
hosting courses, going to events, which very often didn't pay off right away. But that's how I built my whole practice in the beginning. We don't really do as much of that now because we don't have time for it, but we also don't need it as much. Like our schedules are pretty busy. We try to focus on now trying to put our effort into where it has the high payoff, and social media, from what I've seen, has the highest payoff because you can
Mhm.
get thousands of eyes on your space with a half an hour of work rather than going out doing a talk, maybe seeing 10 people,
Yeah.
and they might not even come give you their business anyway. So
Because it's keep staff motivated and happy. Social media. Too low hanging fruit that like if staff are in a better mood, clients are going to be happier. They're going to want to come back. And social media, you can reach more people with one post than you will with any flyer or newspaper.
Well, that's really all we have time for. I do kind of want to wrap this up with maybe one last question. And that actually is to the point of how are you keeping your staff happy? So that was like keep your staff happy, do a good job of your social media. How are you doing to keep your staff happy?
Weekly group meetings,
Mm.
and frequent check-ins, done personally as well as professionally. So that's something we've slipped up on a little bit from the business side of it, where we'll sit down, we go over numbers, we get an idea of their trends on assessments coming in, what kind of revenue and everything like that. Something that we started doing because of Adam has a clinic owner friend who does that, allows staff to see kind of where they're at and just like paints the perfect picture of what their business is doing inside our business.
Mm.
Some client or some practitioners want less of it, some want more of it, a way to stay motivated and just kind of understand where we're coming from when we talk about like potentially switching up the schedule a little bit, or doing more follow-up emails or more social media posts. It's like it allows us to like put a formula together to figure out if we can change those numbers and get them where they want to be, and allows them to set goals business wise. And then checking in on people personally, I think is huge. I think we both do a really good job of that, and that happens very nonchalant, not nonchalant, but it happens very
Yeah.
like it just kind of happens naturally. And I think whether it is just, hey, I'm working out right now, you want to come in and get a workout with me, and then just talking about personal life, see how things are going. I think making time on that end is huge. Because just because we're the owners of this company doesn't mean we're on a different level that they are. It's we work for them in our mind. I think that's always been our mindset. And I think they know, I think they believe that too, because we're trying to create the best possible environment for them, and we work for them. It's like if this place runs well, then they do better. If they do better, then the company grows.
How can people connect with you guys online? And yes, that was like pun intended.
We're on Instagram, so at connect.yyc.
Yeah.
And we're also on TikTok. We're reestablishing ourselves with that, thanks to our wonderful admin gals.
Yeah.
I hate TikTok. They love it, so it's perfect. And I believe that is either -YYC or .yyc.
Okay.
No,
We can put it in the notes.
on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll put it in the bio, but
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
Adam, anything to add to that?
No, if they want to reach out personally, they can send me an Instagram message at adam.connectYYC
Oh, yeah.
if someone's curious about,
Working
starting
with.
a business, any clinical questions. I'm more than happy to chat and kind of share my knowledge around where I can.
Yeah.
Same.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll make sure we include those in the show notes as well. So I just want to thank you. Like, I just want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank you both for being on here. Thanks for just sharing your time and your knowledge and just being willing to share your story. So thank you both for being on the show today.
Of
You're welcome.
course.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
that was fun. Thank you.